Okay, so here's our third one on complex numbers. And what we got to deal with now is to multiplication of complex numbers. Okay, so the title. The title is complex numbers, but this is their third one, so let me call it C, complex numbers. C. Okay, here's our first one. And what are we dealing with? We're dealing with the multiplication and eventually and the division. Eventually we're going to get to and division eventually of complex numbers. Problem number one looks like this, and it's going to look exactly like, almost exactly like a binomial times binomial that we've had recently with just regular x's. Minus 2 plus 6i times 4 minus 3i. 4 minus 3i. So here we go with that. This is our multiplication situation. Let me get that up there. 4 minus 3i. Okay, so now, if you have a situation like this, these multiplications work the exact same way they do with x's. No difference. So it's a binomial times a binomial. So guess what? We need to use FOIL. Exactly like we would treat this with any multiplication. All right, fine. So negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. That's first times first. Outside times outside is minus 2 times negative 3i. So minus times minus is a plus 6i. Inside times inside is 6i times 4, which is 24i. And then last times last is minus 18, because 6 times negative 3 is negative 18, I squared. Be careful with that I squared. Eventually, you can either do it early or you can do it later. You don't have to do it right away, but that I squared is going to have to turn into a negative 1. I don't have to deal with it just yet. Okay, so now, if we have, the first thing that I need to do is put the like terms together. So we've got 6i and 24i. That is plus 30i. And now, actually, in line number 2, I might as well not waste any time and realize and do right away, turn that I squared into a negative 1. That minus 18 times I squared is really minus 18 times negative 1. Okay, next line. Negative 8 plus 30i, and what is negative 18 times negative 1? It is positive 18. Still got, I've got like terms again. Negative 8 and 18 is 10, positive 10. 18 minus 8 is 10, so it's 10. The regular number should be on the left-hand side. The I number should be on the right-hand side, and that's it. 10 plus 30i is the final answer. Nothing more than that. That's it. Okay, so now let's practice. Well, we can practice just a regular one before we move on. Let's do problem number 2 over here, I guess. Problem number 2. And we can try negative 5 plus 4i times 3 minus I. Okay, what does that equal to? Negative 5 times 3 is going to be a negative 15. Outside times outside, minus 5 times negative I is positive 5i. Outside times outside. Inside times inside is going to be 4i times 3, which is 12i. And 4i, last times last, 4i times negative I is negative 4i squared. Don't forget that I squared. Negative 4i squared. What does this turn into? Negative 15. The 5i and 12i is 17i. 17i. And then negative 4 times negative 1, I can do that pretty quickly now. Negative 4 times I squared, which is negative 4 times negative 1, is positive 4. What's my final answer? Negative 15 and positive 4 is negative 11 plus 17i. Problem over. Nothing more complicated than that. Okay, Let's cordon this off, cordon this off, cordon this off, and this. And let's go to problem number 3. And here is a very important problem. It's not going to be hard, it's just very important. What if you have 5 plus 2i times 5 minus 2i, and you'll notice that they're conjugates. Keeps coming up all over and over again, the conjugate story. All right, so we just do it regular, no problem. We'll do FOIL. Let's see what happens. First times first is 25. Outside times outside is negative 10i. Inside times inside, and now you see what's happening over here is positive 10i. Inside times inside. And last times last is 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4. I times I, which is I squared. Okay, now you see what's going on here. These two cancel. And what do we have? 25 minus 4 times I squared, that's minus 4 times minus 1, which is positive 4. And 25 plus 4 is 29. That's the final answer. So you actually get a regular number out of this with 0i. 29 plus 0i, but we don't write the 0i, so we just write 29. And the problem, almost all the time, I mean, I don't know what an answer sheet will do to you, but I doubt they're going to put plus 0i there. So it's 29, and it stays 29, and that's the problem is over. That's extremely important. Okay, let's move on. Problem number 4 gets us to a situation where we have to now divide. We did multiplication of complex numbers. We're up to division of complex numbers. So what if you have 8 plus 2i divided by 3 minus 5i? How do you handle a division of complex numbers? How do you handle a division of complex numbers? The multiplication was pretty straightforward, but about division, here's what you do. Forget about an equal sign. Here's what you do. You multiply the bottom by its conjugate. You'll see why that's going to be good. You'll get rid of all imaginary numbers from the bottom, and that'll be considered having done the division. Bear with me. You'll see it bear out. You'll see it be brought out. So 3 minus 5i, its conjugate is 3 plus 5i. The only way that that's legitimate, the only way I have a license to multiply the bottom by 3 plus 5i is if I also multiply the numerator, the top, by the same exact thing, 3 plus 5i. 3 plus 5i over 3 plus 5i is 1. There's nothing wrong with multiplying something by 1. Okay, let's see what happens. The top, we have to do we're going to have to do 2 FOILs here. FOIL for the numerator and FOIL for the denominator. All right, so let's get at it. 8 times 3 is 24. First times first. Outside times outside, 8 times 5i is 40i. Inside times inside is 2i times 3, which is 6i. And then 2i times 5i, last times last, is 10i squared. Okay, we know what an I squared is. So what do we got? We've got 24 plus 46i, combine the two like terms there, 46i, and 10i squared is really negative 10. 10 times negative 1, negative 10. And what's that equal to at the end of the story? 24 and negative 10 is a total of 14 plus 46i. That's what happens at the end of all of this. Okay. Now let's do the denominator. Let's check out the denominator, what we get for the denominator. All right, so 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 5i is, that's outside times outside, is 15i. Inside times inside is minus 15i. And last times last, minus 5i times positive 5i is minus 25i squared. And again, we know what I squared is. These two cancel. This becomes 9 plus 25, because minus 25 times negative 1 is plus 25. And what do I have over here? This really should extend all the way to the end. And what is 9 and 25? It is equal to 34. Now, have we finished this problem? Answer, no. Because, I'll tell you why it's no. Because 2 can go into 34, into 14, and 46. If they can go into all three of those numbers, we got to do it. 2 goes into 14 7 times. 2 goes into 46 23 times. 23i. And 2 goes into 34 17 times. So this is this is supposed to say 23. What's on your answer sheet? This might be on your answer sheet, but there's another way they can do it. Don't let them confuse you. They may write the 7 with its own 17 and the 23i with its own 17. That can happen. I on top or I in the middle. I could be on top, it could be in the middle. And both of these are good answers. Both of these are fine answers, no problem. Okay, let's do one more of these and close off the section on complex numbers. What I need to do is I want a clean piece of paper. Wait a second. Let's see if I can't get it on the bottom, if I have enough. If I have enough. Yeah, I have enough. I believe I have enough. Okay, so let's start over here, right at the end here, problem number 5. And we'll practice this again, the same type of stuff. What if you've got 5 plus 6i divided by 2 minus 7i? How do you handle it? You handle it exactly like we handled this one. Look at the bottom, look at the denominator, and get its conjugate, which is 2 plus 7i. Multiply the bottom by 2 plus 7i. Whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. Multiply that by 2 plus 7i. Where does that take us? FOIL. 5 times 2 is 10. Outside times outside is 35i. Inside times inside is 12i. And last times last is 42i squared. Okay. Let's keep going. Equals 10 and 42 times negative 1 is negative 42. So negative 42 and 10 is going to be negative 32. And 12i and 42i is going to be 44i. Okay, so we've got 44i. And what do we have here? 35i and 12i. That's 47i, I'm sorry. 35i and 12i is 47i. I apologize. 47i. Okay. And that we've reached the end of the line there. Now, what about this? 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times positive 7i is 14i. Minus 7i times 2 is minus 14i. Predictable. And finally, we also have, at the end over here, we've got negative 7i times 7i is minus 49i squared. These are gone. Minus 49 times negative 1 is positive 49. And 49 and 4 is 53. And there's nothing we can do about it. We can nothing about dividing 53 as a prime number. There's no division we can do in all three numbers. So we are done. Don't forget, this is a 7, 35, and 12 is 47i. So it's negative 32 plus 47i over 53. Problem over. We're finished with complex numbers for the moment.